Hi creative friends, today we're going to be working on the Christmas tree DIY kit. This video is designed to go along with the kit that was already purchased at Curio. Inside it has everything you need to paint with, colors, brushes, the image is pre-drawn. All you need to do is get a paper towel and a cup of water to get started. Now this is a little different. Normally when we do an art kit, I always ask people to start with the background, but today, since our background is black, we're going to save that darkest color for the end. So I'm actually going to begin with painting my tree. You don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it, but I'm going to do a pattern where I have a light green section of tree and then dark green, light green, dark green. So I'm going to be using my square brush. It's a little bit larger than the smaller brush. And I'm going to take my light green and simply kind of trace along the edges and trace next to my pencil lines. Be careful to smooth out any big, huge globs of paint and make sure that you're going nice and slow and holding your paintbrush like a pencil. Once I'm done outlining, I'm going to go ahead and paint in the sections that I want light green, and make sure that I spread out those big globs if there are any, and I'm going to carefully go around the areas of circles that are the ornaments. If I accidentally paint over top of those, it's no big deal. We can always add them back on later. After we're done with the light green, I'm not even going to wash out my brush, and I'm going to switch over to the little bit of a darker green. And this time I'm going to do the areas that are the opposite of the light green to keep that pattern. So light green, dark green, light green, dark green. I'm going to do the same thing I did before where we're outlining the edges, so it kind of creates a barrier where we don't paint outside of the lines. And then once I'm done outlining the area and outlining the circles for my ornaments, I'm going to go ahead and paint in the rest. Remember, if at any point in the video we're going too fast, which will probably happen because we're fast forwarding, then you can always pause and come back to it whenever you're ready. Once I'm done with the green, I'm going to wash out my brushes really well and dry it. That's just as important as washing it. And I'm going to flip my paper, or you can flip your canvas upside down. I always like to turn my canvas and papers so that I'm drawing and working closest to me. That gives me the most control over the brush. And next I'm going to work on the silver part. So I'm going to do silver up in my tree for the star, and I'll also be using silver for some of the ornaments. Silver looks even shinier and brighter when it dries, but you're more than welcome to give it a couple layers just to make sure it has that extra shine. Even though black's our darkest color and I normally always keep it for the end, we are going to go ahead and paint the background next. You can make sure that your tree's dry and come back to it. Make sure you don't smear the paint that you have already, but we want to continue with the same process we've been working on, where we outline around our tree and our star first, and then we paint in the rest of the background. The ornaments on our tree are nice round circles. If you want to add different shapes, you're more than welcome to, but you might be looking at these and thinking, oh, I don't know if I can paint these in so that they stay really nice and even. Well, that's why we have the sponges that are included in there. These are awesome for making circles, and they come in many different sizes. I always use them whenever I'm trying to do things like bubbles on a project, or it's perfect for ornaments. Sometimes we'll do it with eyes with different paintings, especially if they're cartoon-like. But when you use them, try to make sure that when you push down, you give a little bit of a twist, and that helps to make it even a little bit more of a perfect circle. And you can do the ornaments whatever colors you'd like to. I'm going to do all of these large ones that I drew in silver so that it matches the star. They're kind of my biggest ornaments. And then I'll use the little one to add some of the different colors in a little bit after I finish up the silver. But again, this is your masterpiece. So at any point when you want to switch colors around or do something different, that's totally for you to be able to do. Once you've decided you have enough of the big ornaments, we're going to move into the smaller one, and you can really do whatever colors you'd like to. I'm looking for the idea of balance. We know balance of like balancing on one foot or trying to eat a balanced diet, but there's also something called visual balance too. So, and you know this when you're decorating a Christmas tree, you don't want to always put all of the red ornaments on the top of the tree, then all of the different colored ones on the bottom. You kind of decorate your tree and kind of evenly place colors throughout. So like our silver ornaments, or the larger ones, are kind of spaced throughout the tree. So as we use our little dauber, our little sponge, to do the rest of them, we want to make sure that we're trying to evenly space out some of the colors. So I'm taking this kind of burgundy color to kind of space that out, and that color first. Wash this out with water, just like you would with a regular brush. It's just a little bit more wet, and you have to dry it a lot more so that your colors don't mix together. The key when you change colors is just to really dry it well. It'll take quite a few pieces of paper towel, but make sure that's really dry. And you can absolutely mix together some colors if you want to create a custom color for ornaments, or even if you have other colors at home, you're more than welcome to bring those into the picture. I wanted my blue to be just a little less bright blue, so I mixed a little bit of white and a little bit of my green into it to make it just a little bit more turquoise in color. I'm going to keep the idea of balance in mind, and I'm going to space out those blues, and again, try to remember to give it a little twist when you push it down on your picture. That helps to make it look really nice and circular all the way around. We use the foamy part of our stamper, which is the normal way you're supposed to use it. One thing you can do also, if you want to add a little bit of white or a smaller polka dot to it, you could always flip that dauber upside down and use the back. I'm dipping it in some white so that I can just get a little bit more color in my tree, maybe make it look kind of like the Christmas lights, add an area where there's a little bit of highlight. So I'm just taking the back of this and making some smaller polka dots to look like some other cute ornaments or twinkling lights. You can also use the back of your paintbrush. You could use a Q-tip, and you can use even the end of a pencil, that's the rubbery eraser part, for all different sizes of polka dots, to really use it for any time you need it or any different size. Now we get to do a little bit more embellishing or some fun stuff. I'm going to make some swirls inside my star just to make it look a little bit more interesting. You don't have to do this, but you're more than welcome to. I'm doing it with white. You might choose to do it with black if you want to make it look a little bit more contrasting. Next, I'm going to add in some white highlight areas. This is just some simple lines. Try to be confident with it and just put it on the canvas quickly. But this is just to show a little bit of movement, a little bit of excitement, makes it look a little bit whimsical almost. You don't have to add these. I like to, just to add a little bit more depth to the image and to the pieces. One thing we also didn't do yet is the trunk color. So I'm actually going to create kind of a brownishy gray color for this. I'm going to put my darker green and my red, my burgundy color together and kind of mix that around, because red and green, they're complementary colors. So even though we don't have brown, when you mix those two together, it'll make kind of a deeper, darker brown color. If you want it to be even darker, you can always feel free to add black. Black always makes everything darker. Wash that brush out real good and dry it. The last thing we're going to be doing is taking our black to outline. Again, you don't have to do this, but I like to make it look like our lines are standing out a little bit more, and it helps the sections of the trees. So I'm just going to paint this black in between where our two different green colors meet. And you are going to hold your paintbrush like a pencil, really nice and close to the top. Go nice and slow. And the hardest thing is to try and be confident while you're painting it. So really try and commit to the line. I'm going to add a couple of detail lines to my trunk. And then I'm also going to add, in just kind of a quick way, just a little kind of circle, kind of little line to the sides of my ornaments. That helps to make it look like there's a little bit of a shadow to add some depth. And then I'm going to wash out my brush and do the opposite. Instead of adding black underneath a little bit to look like a shadow, I'm going to go ahead and add some white just a little bit near the top of some of my ornaments to make it look like a highlight. Again, these aren't things that you have to do, but there's some different things that I added to it, and if you want yours to look a little bit more like the original picture, that's the way that I went about it. You can do as much or as little as you want, but our masterpiece is finished. Thank you so much for painting with me today. Be sure when you're done with your picture to take a picture of your picture and upload it to social media, or even come to our studio on Main Street of Zillionople and take a class in person. Thanks.